What if I told you that you might have a rare hidden talent within you and you have no idea about it? While the world races after technology, artificial intelligence, and miracle supplements, some of the most impressive capabilities remain right here, in your own body. But almost no one pays attention. Most ignore the silent signals, treat initial symptoms as nonsense, and miss the early warning signs that reveal dormant potential. Does that sound like an exaggeration? Then answer me this. Why do some people endure pain with absurd calm, read environments as if they had an emotional radar, or almost never get sick? The truth is uncomfortable. You've been trained to ignore your body's signals. You've been told that intuition is imagination, that chills are coincidence, that tiredness is just being fussy. But these are hidden symptoms of something much bigger, human abilities that still exist but have been stifled by constant distraction. Don't ignore the signals your body is giving you, because they are the oldest language you possess. And the most curious thing, the more you learn to listen, the more you realize that these strange powers are not fiction. They are practice. Today you'll discover abilities that seem straight out of a movie but are actually possessed by ordinary people. People who master their breathing, read micro-expressions, control physical responses, keep their minds quiet, and even defy normal sleep patterns, all because they've learned to interpret symptoms you shouldn't ignore. And maybe, just maybe, you're closer to this than you think. Stay with me until the end, because what seems rare might just be a skill waiting for attention. The breath holders. Have you ever noticed that there are people who can hold their breath for an absurd amount of time? It's not a magic trick, it's adaptation. These so-called breath holders have developed such a refined awareness of their body's signals that they identify each micro-contraction of the diaphragm before it even becomes discomfort. While most people panic at the first impulse of air, they calmly read the early warning signs. They know how to differentiate between a real lack of oxygen and simple anxiety. And here's the point. Almost always, desperation comes before need. How many times does someone react to minimal discomfort as if it were a threat? These are silent symptoms mistaken for imminent danger. He understands that by training his breathing, he also trains his mind. Practicing safe apnea, for example, starting with 20 seconds and gradually increasing, is a practical way to learn not to ignore the signals your body is giving you, but also not to exaggerate them. Techniques like the 4-4-8 breathing exercise help control the initial symptoms of anxiety that many call normal nervousness. See, when someone feels their heart racing, they immediately interpret it as something serious. But sometimes it's just hidden symptoms of accumulated stress. The secret isn't heroism, it's correct interpretation. He observes, adjusts, and responds without drama. And this completely changes his relationship with his own body. These individuals know that holding their breath isn't about competing, but about mastering silent internal signals. When diving into a pool or facing a tense situation, they recognize the symptoms you shouldn't ignore, but they also distinguish between fear and real limits. And here's something curious. When someone learns to endure the discomfort of holding their breath, they begin to notice previously invisible details, micro-expressions, temperature changes, alterations in their own heart rate. It seems simple, but it's not. It's as if the body begins to whisper louder, and those who learn to listen to these whispers begin to perceive something even more intriguing in the people around them. Super recognition. Do you know that person who never forgets a face? 10, 20 years can pass. They recognize it instantly. That's not just a good memory. It's trained attention to the silent signals of the human face. Small asymmetries, almost invisible scars, micro-expressions that go unnoticed by most. While many ignore these details as if they were irrelevant, they pick them up like someone reading headlines. They are early social warning signs, clues that reveal intentions even before words are spoken. And those who learn to observe like this are rarely fooled by first impressions. Because the face always reveals something, these individuals understand that the brain registers much more than we imagine. The problem is that almost everyone lives distracted, ignoring the initial symptoms of incoherence in others' behavior. They notice when someone smiles only with their mouth, but not with their eyes, a classic hidden symptom of discomfort. Want to practice this? Start by looking at old photos of famous people and try to identify them at different stages of their lives. Or watch interviews without sound and focus only on their expressions. It's a simple but powerful exercise. Little by little, you'll begin to see the signals your body is giving you when something doesn't add up in an interaction. Don't ignore this feeling, it's almost always right. The curious thing is that those who develop this super recognition also begin to perceive repetitive patterns. They notice that certain behaviors precede conflicts, that certain looks precede lies. These are silent symptoms of human dynamics that few truly study. Books like What Everybody Is Saying by Joe Navarro help to understand these nonverbal codes. And when someone begins to master this skill, they not only recognize faces, they recognize intentions. But this leads to another even stranger ability. Because while some identify people easily, others can identify something even more subtle. Hidden flavors in words. Word tasters. He may never have stopped to think about it, but there are people who literally taste words. It's not a poetic metaphor. It's a rare form of synesthesia. For them, certain sounds activate specific flavors, as if the brain were mixing senses without asking permission. While most people ignore these silent symptoms as something strange, these individuals understand that they are simply different readings of the body's signals. The brain is constantly sending early warning signals about how it organizes information. And look, this reveals something bigger. Perception is much broader than what we learn in school. The human mind is a living laboratory. He observes that those who develop sensitivity to words also perceive hidden emotional nuances. Sometimes, a phrase sounds bitter, not because of its content, but because of its intention. These are hidden symptoms in communication that many overlook. Want to test this? Read the same text aloud with different intonations and notice how your body reacts. There are initial symptoms, tension in the jaw, changes in breathing, slight chills, that act as signals your body is telling you whether something is coherent or not. Don't ignore these reactions. They help you interpret the world more accurately. Communication is not just logical, it's sensory, and what's most interesting is that this skill enhances empathy. He begins to notice when someone swallows hard before speaking, or when their voice falters subtly, small, silent signs of repressed emotion. Authors like Daniel Goleman talk a lot about emotional intelligence, but few explore this profound sensory dimension. When someone learns to savor words, they begin to understand intentions before they become actions. And this changes how they respond to the world. But wait, if words can provoke physical sensations, what about those who can activate their own bodies with a simple mental command? The goosebump commandos. Have you ever heard of people who can induce shivers simply by willpower? It sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. Some individuals have developed the ability to voluntarily activate the piloerection reflex, that shiver that usually arises from cold or intense emotion. The most curious thing is that this reveals a refined control of bodily signals that most people don't even notice. While many ignore these small, silent symptoms, they see them as physiological language. They are early warning signs showing that mind and body are constantly communicating, and almost no one learns to participate in this conversation. He understands that when someone feels a shiver upon hearing a song or remembering something significant, it's an initial symptom of deep emotional activation. However, these shiver commands go beyond chance. They are the result of mindfulness and mental training. Techniques like intense visualization or focused meditation help identify the hidden symptoms that precede the shiver. Slight changes in breathing, micro-tension in the shoulders, heightened internal focus. Don't ignore these signals your body is giving you. They show where your emotion is concentrated. Want to practice? Choose a song that has given you goosebumps before and try to mentally recreate the moment without playing it. Observe the silent signals emerging. The interesting thing is that those who master this skill also learn to modulate their own emotional state. They realize when they are about to react impulsively because the body sends warning signals before the explosion. A slight shiver, a sudden tension, a heat rising in the chest, these are symptoms you shouldn't ignore. This mastery creates almost invisible self-control, like an internal switch. And when someone begins to control physiological responses like this, they discover they can become even more sensitive to external vibrations, as if the whole body were a finely tuned instrument. The human tuning forks. Do you know those people who enter a room and in seconds already sense the atmosphere? It's not superstition, it's a refined reading of silent collective signals. They are like human tuning forks. They pick up micro-expressions, variations in tone of voice, strange pauses in conversation. While many ignore these early warning signs, they perceive them even before someone raises their voice. Their bodies react first. A slight tightness in the stomach, a change in posture, altered breathing. These are initial symptoms that indicate tension in the air. And those who learn to recognize these body signals are rarely caught off guard. He understands that this skill can be trained. Want a practical exercise? When entering a meeting, before saying anything, observe who avoids eye contact, who crosses their arms, who breathes faster. These are hidden symptoms of discomfort or resistance. Don't ignore the signals your body is giving you when something seems out of place. Sometimes a slight shiver or a sudden intuition is enough to adjust your approach. Reading environments is a strategic advantage in business, relationships, and leadership. Books like Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman help to understand this invisible field. But daily practice is the true laboratory. The curious thing is that these human tuning forks also know how to protect themselves. They recognize warning signs in toxic environments before damage appears. Small, silent symptoms like sudden exhaustion or irritation without apparent cause can be reflections of the surrounding energy. These are symptoms you shouldn't ignore because the body picks up what the mind hasn't yet processed. And when someone starts to realize this, they understand that their physiology is more powerful than they imagine. But there's an even more intriguing group, those whose own blood seems to respond differently to the world's threats. Disease-proof blood. Have you ever noticed that some people almost never get sick? While a common cold is circulating throughout the entire office, they remain unscathed. It's not pure luck. Often it's an immune system trained to recognize early warning signs before the problem takes hold. The body sends initial symptoms: mild fatigue, changes in appetite, altered sleep patterns, and these people don't ignore them. They listen to their body's signals with almost strategic attention. They don't wait for chaos to act. They adjust hydration, rest, and diet as soon as they notice the first silent symptoms. He understands that immunity doesn't appear out of nowhere, it's built. Want something practical? Consistent sleep of 7 to 8 hours, moderate sun exposure for vitamin D, and consumption of foods rich in vitamin C and zinc, such as oranges, kiwis, nuts, and seeds, strengthen natural defenses. Light and frequent exercise helps blood circulate better, reducing hidden symptoms of chronic inflammation. Don't ignore the signals your body is giving you when that strange tiredness you insist on calling normal appears. Often these are symptoms you shouldn't ignore, gentle warnings before the storm. Those who act early almost always suffer less later. What's most fascinating is that these people develop a preventative relationship with their own bodies. They notice small changes in body temperature, skin texture, mood, true silent signs of imbalance. By treating these details as a priority, they avoid major crises. It's not paranoia, but a precise reading of internal warning signs. And when someone learns to anticipate physical threats like this, they begin to question something even deeper. What about the mind? Are there also people who can keep their minds as stable as their blood? The quiet minds. Have you ever noticed how some people maintain an incredibly quiet mind, even amidst chaos? While most live as hostages to racing thoughts, they listen to their own body's signals with almost surgical clarity. When anxiety arises, they don't panic. They identify the initial symptoms: shortness of breath, tense shoulders, a rigid jaw, and adjust before it grows. They are masters at perceiving early warning signs of an overloaded mind. And the curious thing is that this mental silence is not emptiness, it's organization. Don't ignore these silent symptoms that seem too small to matter. They shape your stability. He understands that a silent mind doesn't mean the absence of thought, but mastery over it. Want to practice? Start with 5 minutes a day of observing your breath without trying to change anything. Just notice the signals your body is giving you when your mind tries to escape. Gradually, you will notice hidden symptoms of stress that previously went unnoticed. Meditation apps help, but books like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle deepen the understanding of this state. Inner silence is a trainable skill, not an exclusive gift. And those who learn to master it respond to life with precision, not impulsively. The most interesting thing is that these quiet minds also recognize emotional warning signs before they become explosions. Small, silent symptoms, such as sudden irritation or excessive distraction, act as internal beacons. These are symptoms you shouldn't ignore because they show where your attention is being drained. When someone develops this mental clarity, they realize they don't need to react to everything. But there's an even more intriguing group, those who seem to live on very little sleep, yet maintain high performance without showing the classic signs of exhaustion. The sleepless elite. Have you ever met someone who sleeps 4 or 5 hours a night and still seems productive, focused, and lucid? It sounds like a superpower, but there are nuances. Some people have rare genetic variations that reduce their need for sleep, but most simply ignore silent symptoms of exhaustion, thinking everything is under control. The body sends early warning signals, memory lapses, mild irritability, irregular hunger, and many simply don't notice them. It understands that there's a difference between real adaptation and denial. Don't ignore the signals your body is giving you, especially when they involve rest. He observes that the true sleepless elite are deeply aware of their limits. They monitor the initial symptoms of fatigue like someone tracking market indicators. If a drop in focus or eye strain arises, they adjust their routine before it becomes a bigger problem. They practice strategic 20-minute naps, maintain exposure to natural light in the morning, and avoid excessive stimulation at night. They are attentive to the hidden symptoms that precede exhaustion. Books like Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker help to understand the risks of ignoring these bodily signals, because productivity without recovery is a debt that the body will collect later. The curious thing is that these people don't compete with sleep. They negotiate with it. They know there are symptoms you shouldn't ignore, such as persistent difficulty concentrating or mood swings. They recognize that some silent signs are warnings that the system needs recalibration. And when someone learns to balance performance and rest, they realize that these strange abilities aren't magic. They're the result of refined attention to their own warning signals. Ultimately, all these capabilities have something in common: a deep listening to what the body and mind whisper before shouting. Now tell me, after everything you've seen, do you still think these abilities are strange? Or is it that the strangest thing is that we've become so detached from our body's signals that we've forgotten how to listen to them? Every skill you've discovered here, from breathing to mental silence, was born from paying attention to the silent signals that most people ignore. They aren't superpowers. They are refined responses to early warning signs that appear before chaos. The real question is, will you continue to ignore the initial symptoms, or will you start listening? Because you see, the body always speaks. It sends hidden symptoms, small adjustments, almost imperceptible changes. These are signs that your body is telling you that something can improve, evolve, or become stronger. Don't ignore these details. Often the greatest results come from the correct interpretation of the symptoms you shouldn't ignore. Those who learn to listen early suffer less later. Those who pay attention now build an invisible advantage. If this content has opened your eyes, then you've already taken the first step. But stagnant knowledge doesn't transform anyone. Apply it. Observe your breathing today. Notice your micro shivers. Identify the warning signs before they become a problem. And above all, keep learning. If you enjoyed this video, if it made you see something different within yourself, then subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications. Because in the next videos, we're going to explore other human skills that almost no one talks about, but that can completely change the way you live, decide, and react. Tell me in the comments, which of these skills do you believe you already have, but have never developed?